Hi everybody, welcome to Back Burner. I'm Chef Paul, the Food Service Director at Colorado Academy for Sodexo, and tonight we are making breakfast for dinner. At school we served breakfast for lunch, and we were unable to do that for spring semester, so this is me fulfilling my promise, and particularly to lower school kids who ask me every day when breakfast for dinner is. So it's today. And we're going to ask everybody to mute their lines so that the noise will be low. All right. So here we go. Now, parents, if you haven't done this already, we were told to have our potatoes parboiled and cooled, and also to have our pancake or waffle batter made. And if you can also, since we're having breakfast for dinner, I've made myself a pot of decaf. So that's going. All right, so first thing we want to do is I've got my oven set on 200 because we're going to have to hold a couple things. And I'm going to start this pan first because we're going to put our potatoes in here. There'll be a lot going on tonight. So forgive me for scrambling. I'm going to set this large pan 5 and start with my potatoes. Sorry about that. Welcome back. And we're going to start with our potatoes. These have been cooked and they are cooled. And we're going to large dice these or quarter them. These are this one's a little overdone and it broke. That's okay. Cut them in half lengthways, and because these are a little fragile, I'm just going to cut them into quarters. Remember, when we're using our knife, how we're being safe. We are tucking our knuckles back. We're keeping our thumb in. So we're going to cut each one of these red potatoes into quarters. So you get 2 quarters is an eighth. Basically, we're going to brown these potatoes in some oil and then remove them. And then we're going to saute some onions and peppers. All right, so I'm just going to stay with that. I've got some canola oil over here on the pan. I got a vegetable oil. I'm not using a olive oil because the temperature will be too hot, and I want my smoking point higher for vegetable oil. Okay, so I've got about 1/4 of an inch in there because I want to shallow pan fry these potatoes. Okay, once that oil starts to get hot, I'm going to put my potatoes in really carefully. When we put something in a pan, we want to start here and put the product in so the oil will splash if there's a problem away from us and not towards us. Okay. I've also got my bacon. So while my pan is getting hot, I like to cut my bacon in half and do a couple batches. And I've got my large pan right here. I turn it on about halfway. I start it with a cold pan. And I'll spread all this bacon out. I want to start it with a cold pan and not a hot pan. That's kind of clutch. Okay, and it looks like I have crowded the pan a little, but it's okay. We'll have to fiddle around with these for a while tonight. So make sure we want to start our bacon, start our coffee. Parents, my oil's getting warm over here. So I'm going to put these in carefully. You can see it just sizzling a little bit. Now we're going to have to constantly come back and forth to make sure everything's going well back here. We want to spread these out. The starch will hold the potato together, so we want to separate them when we put them in the pan. For stove safety tonight, make sure your handles are not sticking out because you're going to be moving around quite a bit. You want to have them tucked in on either side so that you don't accidentally touch them with your waist and pull over some of this hot oil. Okay. Just going to rinse my knife off. Now over here, remember I've got my trash. I've got my paper towels handy. Remember that I don't want to go back and forth to the trash can underneath the sink the whole time. So I've got a little trash dispenser right here for me. Now I've got my coffee, my bacon, my potatoes going. I want to start on my onion for my potatoes. And remember, I got my fingers tucked back. I got my thumb tucked, coming straight down on either side of the onion. All right, now I'm going to take my onion and I'm going to cut it in half. Now I want to do a diced onion for this. So I'm going to cut it halfway through one time. I'm about 80% in there. Now I want to take this, come straight down, turn it to a 90-degree angle. Want to move along kind of quicker than usual tonight. Don't forget we've got our videos posted on our CA YouTube channel. How to cut an onion, how to cut a pepper, how to make some bread, some spare ribs, and then we also post recordings of these dinners. Thanks to my son. Okay, my onion is ready. I want to keep that separate for now. And because it's a very strong onion and we don't want to cry, I'm going to move it across the table here. Next thing we're going to grab is our peppers. I'm just also taking a look back at my potatoes. Got my tongs. They're starting to brown just a little bit. So I'm not going to I'm not going to overdo it with those. My bacon is starting to sweat. All right. Okay. Next I have green bell pepper. This is washed. I'm going to come straight down, cut the shoulder off. I'm going to check and see if it's smiling at me. It's not. It's okay. Set it up. This is how I like to get the seeds out. Come straight down. Cut the rib out while I'm rolling it. Okay. Now we want to dice these. So I'm going to cut this in half here. I'm going to stack them. I want to do a large dice, about as close as possible to the onion that we just did. Now I can hear my bacon in the background, and I can hear my potatoes. Now I'm going to take this end piece, just cut it into 9 pieces, or 12 rather. I've got my shoulder. Just cut it into similar sizes. Okay, so our green bell pepper is done. We're going to turn around and check our potatoes and our bacon. Okay, we're just going to leave this the way it is, not disturb it. All right, back to the cutting board. I've got a red bell pepper, cleaned and washed. Comes straight down on that shoulder, almost. Sometimes you get 2 eyes and a little mouth. There's 2 eyes right here, sort of a mouth, maybe a. All right, once again with the pepper, lay it on its side. Let your knife follow that roll. Cut that out in 1 piece. I'm going to cut it in half. Lay it on top of each other. There'll be lots of moving parts for this meal. Because we need, once one thing's done on the stove, we'll need it for something else. All right, now my pepper is almost finished. Now, because this is the shoulder and the bottom, it's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. There we go. Now I'm going to come back and check on these potatoes. Now, if possible, I am going to turn each one individually so that another side gets browned. You can see the moisture in the potatoes spitting. Now at work, when we do bacon for the students, we have to do it in the oven on sheet pans because we need to cook about 60 pounds of bacon. Okay, now back to our cutting board. Now I've got some ham. These are going to get mixed in with my potatoes and my peppers and onions. And this was ham that I put in the freezer when we had a ham for Easter. So this is leftovers, which is perfect for breakfast. So I just want to dice this up. Similar to the size of the peppers and the onions, and I want to keep all these items separate. Okay, I'm going to take a paper towel. Just going to dry up that ham a little bit, clean my knife. Now, it's not listed, but I also have some Italian parsley that I'm going to put into my potatoes. So the parsley, I'm going to pick this stem off and drop it in my waste basket. You can hear my bacon. You can hear my potatoes. All right, so I've got the stems removed, and I'm going to tighten these up into a little ball. And I'm going to chop as finely as possible from my right to my left. I got my fingers tucked back. I got my thumb tucked back. Now I don't want to reach out for any that move and release because that's how we cut our hands. Okay. Now I'm going to gather this all back up together. Come through a second time. Now I'm just going to coax this along. All right, so now I've got my chopped parsley. All right. Gonna rinse my knife off. Take my paper towel. Clean up my parsley bits. All right, potatoes, looking really good. I want to try and put these on the third side of each cut. I'm going to try and put these on the third side of each cut so that all of it is evenly browned. The bacon will sometimes stick. That's all right. Let me grab a sandal. Okay. Let me grab a couple things down here. Now I'm going to take my paper towel and I'm going to put this in the bottom of each pan. I'm going to put this in the bottom of each pan, and I'm going to use one for potatoes and one for bacon. You can see my potatoes are nicely browned. We're going to continue to cook these. I'm going to turn my heat down to about 2. I'm going to remove these as gently as possible. I turn my heat down so this won't be extremely hot, because the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my onions. I'm going to need to check my bacon. So my bacon, as it's ready, I'm going to take it out and put it in my paper towel. Because this all gets done kind of unevenly and at different times. Okay, now let's go back to our onions. You can see the onions are still very white. We want them to turn pale because the onion has moisture and it has sugar. So what we're doing is we're evaporating with the steam you see the water. The water will come down. So the sugar, we're not adding sugar, but the sugar will become more prominent as the moisture of the onion goes down. So that's how you get why you like to eat an onion that is sauteed and sweet, and you don't like to eat an onion that is raw and fresh. The bacon you do have to stand over and kind of keep track of. But it sure smells great. Parents, our coffee is ready. All right, while that's going, the next thing we're going to mess around with is avocados. So I selected 2 different avocados at the store for our avocado toast. One, you can see, is very ripe, and one is very hard, and we'll see the difference. The avocado is actually a seed, And up until 1915, it used to be called alligator fruit because of the skin. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut it in half with a serrated knife. I'm going to roll it, and I'm just going to twist it. Now I've got my second avocado. You can see this is much firmer. Okay, see the difference? This one was a little softer. There's a little brown around here. This one's very firm, and it's got a different good color. I do need to check my bacon. My onions look good. So I am going to add my peppers. All right, my bacon is complete. So that frees me up a little bit. I am going to carefully pan. I'm going to carefully remove this pan from the area. I do not want to run water in it because that oil is hot. So I'm going to leave it there. I've got my peppers and onions right here. All right, let's come back to the cutting board. So here's a trick behind cleaning an avocado. What we're going to do is carefully take our serrated knife, and I'm going to poke lines down up to the skin very gently because I do not want to poke through the skin. You can hear our peppers and onions sizzling in the back. So now I take my spoon and I'm going to run my spoon along the back of that avocado. And that's how I can get a nice dice without making a mess all over everything. And I get nearly all of the meat out of the avocado. Now the seed is a little trickier. Something I like to do is I'm going to put my knife into the seed, but I'm going to keep my hands back. And then I can twist it out and pop it out like that. Once again, I'm using my knife to go to the bottom of the outside of the avocado. All right, I want to check my peppers and onions. Now I'm going to add my ham. My ham is already cooked, so I just want to bring it up to temp. Okay, I'm not adding any salt and pepper just yet because there's salt in the ham, so I don't want to add more salt. Excuse me. So my second avocado, it's a little firmer, so I need to be very careful when I come down that I'm not puncturing through and cutting my hand. You can see this is a lot more difficult to get out. Once again with my seed, I want my fingers back. It's kind of stuck in there. There we go. I can hear my peppers and onions. I'm being very careful not to puncture the skin and cut through my hand. With a very ripe avocado, you can also use a table knife and not a serrated knife. Now you can take this avocado meat and you can mush it with your the back of your spoon. Some people like to use a fork. If the avocado is a little more firm, like our second avocado, we're going to probably switch over to a fork. Okay, I'm doing this in a bowl because I don't want to make this kind of a mess all over my table. All right, I've got my salt and pepper. Pre-mixed salt and pepper. And a little lemon juice. With your guacamole, you can see I got a couple seeds. I got a dish out of there. With your guacamole, you want to add lime juice, but for your avocado toast, you want lemon juice. Now I'm going to mush all this together. And we're going to be serving this shortly, so it'll be okay if I leave it out. But like guacamole, it'll start to oxidize and go brown very, very quickly. All right, so I've got a clean tasting spoon here. I think I'm going to add a little more lemon juice. I'm going to add a little more lemon juice. There we go. And there's the seed again. All right, this is ready to go. I'm going to jump back. I'm going to grab my potatoes, come back to my pan. I'm going to add my potatoes back to the pan. I've got a pepper grinder right here. I'm not adding any additional salt. And I'm going to turn that on to low. Okay, so now I have a sheet pan with some aluminum foil, and that's old school Robert Mondavi pepper grinder I got when I first started out. All right, so now it's a lot quieter because our peppers and onions with our ham have stopped screaming at us. All right, so we want to hold this. So my oven is set at 200 degrees to just keep it warm. So that's holding. Okay. Now let's see what we can do over here. Eggs. We're going to move on to eggs. Got a question? And how do you learn to flip the veggies that way? Years of experience and some messes. Yeah, that's true. You can also, if you want to practice, if you get frozen peas and you put them in your pan, maybe I'll do a video on how to flip things. You'll learn really quick how to keep them in the pan. But frozen peas I've seen people practice with, but yeah, this is my 34th year in the kitchen, so a few pans. All right, cracking an egg. I don't want egg all over, so this is how I like to do it. I usually do it over by the sink. I can do this one-handed. I'm going to hit it down hard and bring it over quick and separate this with my hand. I can't do it slow. It won't work. Do it with two hands. Now, after handling the raw eggs, I will wash my hands thoroughly. So for our family right now, we're going to have 5. I'll cook some more. All right, I want to come over and clean up for a sec. All right. You can use a whisk for your eggs, but I prefer to use a fork. This is a little salt and pepper that I have prepared ahead of time. Sometimes people will put in a little splash of milk or half and half. That works also to make them fluffy, but if you keep the eggs moving and incorporate air, it'll work great. Okay, so I've got a really head over here for a quick sec. So I've got this set at about 7. We're going to talk about scrambled eggs. This is a regular pan. This is not a special non-stick pan. But the trick is that you got to have a hot pan and you got to have some fat in there. And for our fat, we're going to use butter. Okay. So while this is getting hot, what I want to do is take my fork and break every yolk. You can also use a whisk. I can't go slower because I want air. So Hunter's asking me to go a little slower just to show you how I do it. But I want air in those eggs, so I'm going to be doing it quickly and kind of loud. So I'm kind of moving like this. I've got my bowl tilted so I can get in there deeper. So let's check our heat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the butter in. I'm going to spread it around. Let me grab a plate real quick. Another question says, do potatoes go in the oven with the peppers and onions? Yes. But remember, the oven's on 200, so they're not really cooking anymore. We're just holding them. Bacon grease to scramble our eggs? Yes, that's also a trick for you farmers. Okay, so I've got a really hot pan. I'm going to add my butter. I'm going to spread my butter around. I'm going to whip my eggs, and I'm going to add them to the pan, and I'm not going to touch them for a minute, but that's going to go kind of quick. So I'm going to fluff my eggs a little. I always use a wooden spoon with my eggs for scramble, so you can see if you have to really scrape your pan when you're making your eggs, then your pan's not hot enough. Another thing I'm going to do while my eggs are cooking is I'm going to get another non-stick pan and start that getting warm so we can make another fun thing together. I've got some shredded cheddar that we like in our house. I threw that in. My eggs are about 80% finished. I don't want to heat the cheese, I just want to melt it. You can see my eggs stayed fluffy. Okay, I'm going to put a little more pepper on them. Okay, so back to this pan here. What I'm going to do is show you how to make a one-eyed sailor. I should just hop over here. So I've got 2 slices of wheat bread. I've got my butter. And I have this glass, a coffee mug, more of a coffee cup will work well, and I want to punch a hole out here. Okay, I'm going to butter these. I leave my butter out at room temperature, so it's really easy to spread. Okay, I want to do one side of everything. All right, I'm going to get 2 eggs ready. All right, and we're going to come back to the pan. I've got a non-stick pan here that's pretty warm. I've got my 2 pieces of bread. I've got my holes. Now, I want to butter the top side really quick. Butter side down, correct. And we're going to butter both sides. Butter side down was a question. I don't know if everybody can see those. I have a rubber spatula handy to use with my nonstick pans. So what I'm going to do now is this bread is toasting. I'm going to drop a piece of butter right here and right here. Yeah, Pam will work too, like a spray. A spray will work if you'd rather not use butter. I'm going to drop 1 egg on each side. I got a touch of a shell right here. So to remove it, the albumin from the egg will work to remove any shells. So don't try using your fingers. Now I've got my salt and pepper. Got my stove set about halfway. I'm just going to check this to see how toasted it is. I'm going to try not to break the eggs when I flip them. Grab another plate. If you haven't already, go ahead and plug in your waffle maker. This is our house favorite waffle maker. I've got it sprayed and I just plugged it in. Try and time all this correctly. Okay, so let's check our toast. All right, we're going to flip these. These little guys will also be a good indication of how toasted our bread is. All right, so here's the trick. I want to flip this over so that the egg stays intact and I end up with kind of a Overeasy. Perfect. I'm going to add a little more salt and pepper. I want the egg to cook and seal the bottom half without tearing apart the yolk. So that part's kind of tricky. I'm just going to take these out. Now I got to be really careful here because I don't want the yolk broken. All right. Got a couple more things to show you. Okay, I'm going to start my waffle. flip that over. Okay, right here, I thought I should show you how to do an Overeasy egg, because it's kind of tricky. So what I want to do is have a very hot pan. This is a non-stick pan. It's very, very hot. What I'm going to do is, just like the one-eyed sailor and the scrambled egg, I've got a hot pan. I'm going to add my butter. I'm going to crack my egg right in there. Now the trick is, don't disturb it. Let it cook. I'm going to try and coax this egg white to bleed out a little bit and spread out. But I'm not moving this just yet. I got my waffle about ready. Okay, now we're going to flip this. All right, so the motion is that I'm going to bring it up, I'm going to coax it, and I'm going to flip it. So I want the yolk, the heavy part, away from me. This is going to go really fast. All right, and hopefully it didn't break. So I'm going to take my waffle now. And something I like to do here is put that right on top. Got a little bit of my scrambled egg. Got a couple pieces of bacon for everybody. And I forgot about my toast. I've got a piece of sourdough bread. I'm going to drop that in my toaster. Got my potatoes. Now I have to admit, this is a feast. We will probably, this will not be for one person. All right, really quick, while our toast is toasting, let's head over to our condiment table. We have our syrup, Tapatio, Cholula Original, Cholula Chili Garlic is great, Habanero Tabasco, super hot, Tabasco Chipotle, probably my favorite, some salsa, some chili flakes, and ketchup, and everybody can help themselves. Now I've got my lightly toasted sourdough with my avocado for my ever-trending avocado toast. And I did not forget my chopped parsley. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining Back Burner this Friday. I'm Chef Paul. And let's check some questions. Thanks, Chef. You're welcome, Steve Shear. Love you. Loving dinner. Thank you. Thank you, Beth. Thank you. Thank you. Well, that's good. Thanks, Buzz. Thank you, everybody. I hope everybody has a great week. Enjoy the weather. Get outside.
Thank you.
Will next week. I'm Chef Paul. Thanks for watching Back Burner.